Chapter 61, notice is hereby given that on March 20th, 2020, the chair of the Fayette County Board of Education called a special meeting of the Board of Education for Monday, March 23rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. at 701 East Main Street. The Fayette County Public Schools Board of Education will conduct a virtual meeting on Monday, March 23rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. This will be a virtual meeting accessible through YouTube. The link for this meeting is fcps.net/virtual meeting. This is the board's monthly regular meeting, but especially called because it will be conducted virtually. Please be advised, in the state of proclaimed national emergency and under a similar declaration by the governor, it is not currently feasible for the board to provide meeting room conditions in the face of COVID-19, a highly contagious virus that spreads between people who are in close contact with one another within 6 feet. Under the exceptional circumstances in which the Commonwealth of Kentucky is confronting pop-ups, under the exceptional circumstances in which the Commonwealth of Kentucky is confronting a worldwide pandemic while nevertheless needing to accomplish critical public business, pursuant to KRS 61.840, the Fayette County Public Schools Board of Education will not provide a primary physical location for public viewing and will proceed pursuant to KRS 61.826 with concessions outlined in the Attorney General's opinion OAG 20-05. Thus, the public can access the media via the live stream, but cannot be physically present at this meeting. At this time, I'll call the meeting officially to order, and I will turn it over to Mr. Love to read the moment of silence, the Pledge of Allegiance, and give the mission statement.
Sure. Let us have a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our mission is to create a collaborative community that ensures all students achieve at high levels and graduate prepared to excel in a global society.
Thank you. At this time, I will call for approval of the agenda as presented.
Do we need to do a roll call vote, or a roll call, of present members?
No, because we were all virtually seen, I believe,
okay.
Because
Okay.
that's not our script.
I make the motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Murphy, second by Ms. Morris. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. At this time, we will begin proclamations. And I believe you all received just a few minutes ago an email with the proclamation script. Possibly, yes. So hold on. Since we are conducting a virtual meeting tonight, we will not have our special guest readers, so the proclamations will be read each by each board member. So Christy Morris, if you begin.
Our first proclamation is celebrating April 2020 as Autism Awareness Month. Whereas autism spectrum disorders can affect anyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, or socioeconomic background, and are the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States, affecting 1 in 59 children. And whereas autism is the result of a neurological disorder that impacts the functioning of the human brain and the social communication and behavioral skills of those affected. And whereas children with autism benefit from interventions, therapies, classroom instruction, and support, which increase their ability to achieve at high levels and graduate college and career ready. And whereas our school district remains committed to meeting the needs of students with autism and strives to offer systematic and systemic approach to boosting every child's educational outcomes. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County the Fayette County Board of Education hereby express their deep appreciation to all employees who support students with autism as an integral members of the team of Fayette County Public Schools, and join the rest of the nation in celebrating April 2020 as Autism Awareness Month. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread on the official minutes of the Board of Education.
A motion is in order to adopt the proclamation celebrating April 2020 as Autism Awareness Month.
I move to adopt the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Love. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Our next proclamation celebrates April 2020 as Occupational Therapy Month. Whereas school occupational therapists throughout the Fayette County Public Schools are key members of the educational team preparing our children for the future. And whereas occupational therapy is the science of helping people of all ages live life to its fullest by promoting health, preventing injury, and teaching them how to overcome the social, emotional, and physical effects of illness, injury, and impairment. And whereas through direct and indirect assistive technology and environmental modifications, school occupational therapists help students facing physical, cognitive, and mental health challenges that can affect their school performance and health. And whereas school-based occupational therapist assessment and intervention focuses on helping kids participate in the activities of daily living and learning, achieve in the classroom, develop appropriate relationships, build independence, and pursue the interests and skills necessary for transition to life after graduation. And whereas school occupational therapists look at the whole picture when it comes to planning and delivering student intervention, collaborating with parents, teachers, and other educational staff members to help students achieve academic success. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County Board of Education express their deep appreciation.
Hey, we got a text from Tyler that he got kicked out, guys. You see that?
So
Yeah,
yeah.
we need to hold on for just a minute.
And Amy, we may need your help a little on this because I don't ever see all 5 people at once. So if someone gets kicked out, we almost need them to notify us like he did.
Yep. I noticed it moved, but somebody beat me to it, so. I'll let you know when he gets back in the room. We'll just have to pause for a minute.
Thank you.
Hey, Stephanie, this is James McMillan. There's a waffle in the top right corner. If you push that waffle, you can see every participant's video. It shows up on your screen.
There's a waffle.
It's got 9 dots. If you hit it, everybody's picture shows up on your screen. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, is that a gallery view?
Just run your cursor up to the top right corner.
Yes,
I might
ma'am.
not show it
Gallery
right now.
view. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. And does Daryl need to start back and read this whole proclamation since we don't know when Tyler?
No, I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
I'll just ask him what part did he drop off.
There you go.
Okay, Tyler's coming back in now, but it may take him just a second.
Okay, sorry about that. My Zoom has been overloaded.
Go ahead, Terrell.
Okay, Tyler, what portion did you kind of drop off? The last thing you remember hearing?
Let me find where you are. Whereas through direct and indirect services.
Okay.
I think after that or before that paragraph.
Okay. Whereas through direct and indirect services, assistive technology, and environmental modification, school occupational therapists help students face physical, cognitive, or mental health challenges that can affect their school performance and health. And whereas school-based occupational therapy assessment and intervention focuses on helping kids participate in the activities of daily living and learning, achieve in the classroom, develop appropriate relationships, build independence, and pursue the interests and skills necessary for transition to life after graduation. And whereas school occupational therapists look at the whole picture when it comes to planning and delivering student intervention, collaborating with parents, teachers, and other educational staff members to help students achieve academic success. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County Board of Education express their deep appreciation to our occupational therapists for all they do to support our students and schools as integral members of Team FCPS, and hereby join the rest of the nation in celebrating April the 2020 as Occupational Therapy Month. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread on the official minutes of the Board of Education.
Motion.
Go ahead. I make the motion to adopt the proclamation celebrating April 2020 Occupational Therapy Month.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Mr. Daniels, a second by Mrs. Morris. Is there further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Our next proclamation celebrates April 2020 as School Library Month. Whereas school libraries can be wondrous places where books come to life, children grow to love reading, imagination runs wild, and information is available to everyone who seeks it. And whereas today's students are the authors and illustrators of stories yet to be told, the researchers of discoveries yet to be made, and the inventors of breakthroughs yet to be imagined, and school libraries are uniquely suited to cultivate creativity, free expression, and storytelling. And whereas school libraries offer an environment conducive to reading and learning, critical thinking, creative expression, investigation and research, professional growth, and curriculum development and enhancement, and whereas learning to become effective users of information is students characterized by change, and whereas libraries are places of opportunity and lifelong learning, offering free access to all and contributing to the individual growth and development of all students while fostering both excellence and equity in education. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County Board of Education express our deep appreciation to our school media specialists and library support staff for all they do to support our students and schools as integral members of Team FCPS, and hereby join the rest of the nation in celebrating April 2020 as School Library Month. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread on the official minutes of the Board of Education.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proclamation celebrating April 2020 as School Library Month.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Morris, a second by Mr. Daniels. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Proclamation celebrating April 19th, 25th, 2020 as Administrative Professionals Week. Whereas administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operations in schools and departments throughout the Fayette County Public Schools, efficiently handling the day-to-day routines that keep our district running smoothly. And whereas the work of administrative professionals today requires advanced knowledge and expertise in communications, computer software, office technology, project management, organization, customer service, and other vital management responsibilities. And whereas administrative professionals are critical public relations ambassadors, representing the face of our schools and district to the thousands of parents, community members, and students who walk in the door or call on the telephone. And whereas every day in the Fayette County Public Schools, administrative professionals work behind the scenes to ensure bills are paid, student employee attendance is tracked, repairs are scheduled, questions are answered, payroll is processed, and a host of other critical functions are fulfilled. And whereas words seem inadequate to fully express our gratitude for the expertise and dedication of the district administrative professionals, their vital contributions and commitment to teamwork, and their willingness to learn and accept new challenges and opportunities. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County Board of Education express their deep appreciation to our administrative professionals for all they do to support our students and schools as integral members of Team Fayette County Public Schools. And whereas, join the rest of the nation in celebrating April 19th through 25th, 2020 as Administrative Professionals Week, be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread in the official minutes of the Board of Education.
I'll make a motion to adopt the proclamation celebrating April 19th through 25th, 2020 as Administrative Professionals Week.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
We need to pause for just a minute. We lost Tyler again. He's coming back in.
I'm sorry. I've been using Zoom all day. I don't know what the deal is. I've switched devices. Hopefully this helps. I'm good to go.
I think you just need to make the motion again.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the proclamation celebrating April 19th through 25th, 2020 as Administrative Professionals Week.
I second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And please hold on just a second for technical difficulty. I believe there's been a change to the last resolution. Ms. Chatfield, am I reading the resolution that you sent?
Yes, it's the one that you got about that KSBA recommended.
Just making sure.
Yes.
A resolution of the Fayette County Board of Education regarding meeting protocols for novel coronavirus COVID-19. Whereas on March 6, 2020, the governor issued Executive Order 2020-215 declaring a state of emergency throughout Kentucky pursuant to his power under the Kentucky Constitution and KRS Chapter 39A regarding the threats to public health presented by the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas the Secretary of the Kentucky Finance and Administration Cabinet has moved to fully describe the public health threats of COVID-19 and the memorandum regarding meeting protocol for novel coronavirus COVID-19, dated March 16th, 2020, hereinafter the meeting protocol. And whereas the meeting protocol requires all Kentucky boards and commissions to take proper health precautions to mitigate the spread of COVID-19, and accordingly, with respect to the public attendance at meetings of said bodies, states members of the public will only be able to view video teleconference meetings remotely. And whereas the same emergency public health considerations as described in the meeting protocol apply to Kentucky public school districts and the boards of education. And whereas the Kentucky Cabinet for Health and Family Services and the Kentucky Department of Education have each advised that all Kentuckians practice social distancing during that state of emergency, including but not limited to keeping a distance of at least 6 feet between individuals and the cancellation of large community gatherings. And whereas the Kentucky Open Meetings Act of KRS 61.840 provides that no condition other than the required for the maintenance of order shall apply to the attendance of any member of the public or any meeting of a public agency. And whereas due to the emergency conditions currently existing under the present state of emergency and the need to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 via person-to-person contact in large community gatherings of persons where social distancing is difficult, the conditions necessary at this time for the maintenance of order of meetings of district boards of education, which include the mitigation of the spread of disease during a public health pandemic, include limitations on meeting attendance by members of the public, such as described in the meeting protocol. And whereas in an opinion issued on March 18th, 2020, issued by the OAG 20-05, the Kentucky Attorney General opined that at this time, during the present state of emergency, it is not feasible under KRS 61.840 to precisely identify and provide a primary physical location for a video teleconference under the Open Meetings Act, at which the public may attend and view a meeting held via teleconference, and that various other technological means by which the public may view a meeting should be provided instead until the conclusion of the state of emergency. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Fayette Board of Education on motion by, I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Murphy. I need a second.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Murphy, seconded by Mrs. Morris. The board hereby resolves and orders as follows for the duration of the above declared state of emergency. With regard to Board of Education meetings held on and after the adoption of this resolution and until the conclusion of the current state of emergency, the board shall conduct its meetings in conformity with the procedure set forth at KRS 61.826 for video teleconferencing of meetings and in conformity with the opinion of the Attorney General issued as OAG 20-05, which interpreted those provisions and other provisions of the Open Meetings Act in light of the exceptional circumstances of the current state of emergency. Board members shall use their best efforts to avoid attending any board meetings in person and shall instead attend via video teleconference to the extent practical, and shall observe any binding governmental directive or order that may be issued in the future that may prohibit such in-person attendance. The superintendent shall arrange for resources and instructions necessary to allow board meetings to be conducted via video teleconferencing pursuant to KRS 61.826 and board policy and pursuant to the opinion of the Attorney General issued as OAG 20-05. Due to the circumstances previously described in the resolution, the governor's declaration of a state of emergency and the meeting protocol, and then OAG 20-05, and based upon the authority to impose conditions to maintain order under KRS 61.840 in these extraordinary and emergency circumstances, and further based upon the interpretation of the Attorney General issued as OAG 20-05, the requirement in KRS 61.826 that the board provide a primary location where the public may attend is determined not to be feasible under KRS 61.840. Alternative measures for the public and media press to observe the meeting remotely will be implemented. Notices that regular special meetings of the board are to be held as video teleconferences shall be provided to members of the board and media press agencies entitled to receive such notice as provided in KRS 61.823. Notice shall be provided to the public and precisely identifies the technological means by which the public may access the video teleconference. Provision of such access shall not otherwise interfere with the conduct of the meeting. Absent emergency circumstances qualifying under KRS 61.8235, these notices shall be provided at least 24 hours before the video teleconferencing meeting. Should there be interruption in the public video or audio broadcast of the meeting shall be suspended until the further functionality is restored. If there is such interruption for an individual board member attending the meeting via video teleconference, the meeting may continue after reasonable efforts to restore connections as long as a quorum is still participating. In the case of any board meetings involving individual hearing matters, including but not limited to student expulsion hearings, consideration shall be made on a case-by-case basis for the following of in-person meetings as deemed necessary and advisable, and alternative arrangements to mitigate the spread of COVID-19 via person-to-person contact may be implemented. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. This is adopted by the board this day.
Our final proclamation of the evening celebrates April 2019 through 25th, 2020 as National Student Leadership Week, whereas schools throughout Fayette County sponsor student leadership activities in order to provide students with vital experience in exercising a voice in matters of common concern, reconciling diverse interests, and selecting leaders. And whereas increasing student engagement in schools has a direct correlation with higher grades and lower dropout rates. And whereas strengthening avenues for student voice and empowerment has the potential to positively transform our school because as our primary customers, students can offer unique insights and suggestions for improvement. And whereas student leaders are a positive influence on their peers, modeling good character and scholarship in and out of the classroom and serve as change agents to improve the overall climate and academic performance levels of their schools. And whereas National Student Leadership Week serves as an ideal time to bring attention to the important and integral contributions that student leaders and all student activities make in our nation's schools. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County Board of Education express their deep appreciation for student leaders in our schools and support their training and activities as they prepare themselves for their future roles as leaders of our city, state, country, and global community, and hereby join the rest of the nation in celebrating April 2019 to April 2020 as National Student Leadership Week. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread on the official minutes of the Board of Education.
I make the motion that we adopt the proclamation.
I second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And actually, I still have one more proclamation. I apologize for the confusion. Our next proclamation celebrates April 20th through 24th, 2020 as Public School Volunteer Week. Whereas it takes an entire community to ensure the success of our public schools and every day in our schools, dedicated volunteers give of their time and talents. And whereas volunteers assist teachers and staff with the day-to-day activities involved in providing a balanced education for students and are an important part of our team that strives to ensure that each and every one of our students succeeds. And whereas throughout the school year, volunteers serve schools in Fayette County as chaperones, mentors, after-school tutors, guest readers, club leaders, booster club members, PTA and PTSA members, guest speakers, classroom helpers, school-based decision-making council representatives, homeroom parents, athletic coaches, and in countless other ways. And whereas our committed volunteers raise money, produce newsletters, write grants, work in offices, libraries, classrooms, and cafeterias, direct traffic, organize service projects, run after-school activities, clubs and programs, coordinate incentive and rewards programs, build playgrounds and ball fields, plan school carnivals, festivals, and book fairs, get involved in parent organizations, and much more. And whereas the active involvement and support of parents, families, and community members plays a huge role in the success of our schools and helps keep the focus of what is best for our students. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the members of the Fayette County Board of Education express their deep appreciation to our volunteers for all they do to support students and schools as integral members of Team FCPS, and hereby join the rest of the nation in celebrating April 20th through 24th, 2020 as Public School Volunteer Week. Be it further proclaimed that this proclamation be spread on the official minutes of the Board of Education. A motion is in order to adopt this proclamation.
I'll make a motion, so moved, to adopt the proclamation April 20th, 25th, 20th, 24th, 2020 as Public School Volunteer Week.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much. Again, I just want to welcome everyone who is watching this meeting on our virtual. And I again want to acknowledge that we do not have public comment tonight, but we encourage you at any point to reach out to the five of us, and we will actively try to assist you. As we know, this is challenging times. As I have already noted, I am hiding from my children and my dogs in a kid's bedroom. So we all know that we are working together, and I appreciate those of you taking the time to watch this evening. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add my own greetings to the members of the public who have tuned in for our virtual meeting. As you know, we're living during rapidly changing times, but I could not be more proud of how our employees have responded. Team FCPS has stepped up in a big way to the challenge and continues to put students first in every decision and action. Our transportation employees and child nutrition staff have worked together to serve more than 30,000 meals to the children of our community in just the past week alone. Earlier today, I had the honor of visiting one of our elementary meal sites to watch the operation once again in progress. I have to tell you that until you see the families coming to receive the food, you can't fully appreciate the heroism of our employees for making this possible. This is an essential service for our children that only our team could perform with such compassion and expertise. Now, on the instructional side, our teachers, classified instructional staff, and principals have worked tirelessly to develop creative and engaging lessons that will be implemented beginning April 6th as part of our non-traditional instruction, or NTI days. But even before we begin that, our teachers have gone above and beyond to stay connected with their students through messages, videos, and online chats. During times of great uncertainty such as these, children need to know that the adults in their lives are still there for them. And across our district, I've been blown away by the examples of nightly story times, Google Meetups, messages in school windows, and FaceTime calls. Due to the different format of tonight's meeting, some of our routine reports will be included in the agenda and not delivered orally. First up, under Superintendent's Report, I'd like to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. John White, and Budget Director Jelaine Mullins to present, just to give you an update on the 2020-2021 budget, or FY21.
Good evening. We have a legislative update for you guys tonight. The Senate passed their version of the budget late Thursday evening. And of course, the House declined to concur. So they are meeting in conference committee, and they will be meeting this week to try to work out a compromise. After today, there are like 9 days left in the legislative session, with April 2nd being the day that veto recess begins. And we return from veto recess on April 14th. And of course, April 15th is the last day of the session. So we expect to have a final budget next week, and we'll be able to begin our work on the state revenue process around those changes. We wanted to go over the various scenarios with you in the governor's package, which was presented January the 28th. There was a one-time $2,000 supplement for classroom teachers only. The guaranteed seat base moved from $4,000 per pupil to $4,040. The teachers' retirement system was fully funded with medical benefits. Instructional material funds, which are part of the Flex Focus dollars, were reinstated at $11 million per year. There were also approximately $5 million per year set aside for preschool programs in disadvantaged areas. The governor's budget reinstated the teacher loan forgiveness program, as well as school safety funds to support the SBDM1 for building upgrades were allocated at $9.1 million per year. There were also $5 million for school bus purchases over 2 years. And I believe I read somewhere this was approximately one bus per district. And not directly under education, but funding was also included for Kentucky Wired. Under the House budget, which was approved mid-March, there was a reoccurring 1% raise for all school district employees. The guaranteed base went from $4,000 to $466 in 2021 and $4112 in 2022. The teachers' retirement system was fully funded, as well as a single coverage health insurance for Kentucky teacher retirees under 65 for 2021 only. Instructional materials, which are part of the Flex Focus, was reinstated at $5 million per year. And of course, there were school safety funds to support SBD Senate Bill 1 implementation for building upgrades at $9.3 million per year. There were also funding for counselors, and I believe this was 1 per district, but no more than 10 positions in 2021 and 20 positions in 2022, if deemed necessary by the Kentucky Center of School Safety. And I believe that is per district. And of course, late last week, the Senate passed their version of the budget, and it included a 1% raise for classified employees in 2021, and if funding was available again in 2022. There were no mandated certified raises included in their package. The guaranteed seat base went from $4,000 per pupil to $4,161. But of that $4,161, $6 per student was dedicated to instructional materials, and then $10 was to be held by KDE and distributed to school district if general fund receipts for 2021 were equal to or greater than projection. So that was, those $10 per pupil would have been put in a contingency account and held by KDE. There was a caveat, teachers' retirement was fully funded, but there was a caveat. They are withholding $1.3 billion of the actuarial requirement and demanding that structural changes be put in place before August of 2020 and 2021, or the funds would be sent to Kentucky Employees Retirement System. No funding was included for the pre-65 KTRS retirees for health insurance coverage in either year of the biennium. There was school safety funds to support Senate Bill 1 for building upgrades of 9.3 per year, and the counseling language, 1 per district, but no more than 10 positions for 21 and 20 positions for 22 were left in the language bill at all. Here you can't hardly read it, but I was trying to give you a side-by-side comparison. I will send this out to you later on this evening so you can have everything on one nice little sheet. But as I've said before, we will probably get a final budget this week sometime before the legislature recesses to go into veto recess. With that being said, in the district, we have been working hard on trying to get all of our pieces, parts together to begin our work here to develop the budget process. We met with in the last 2 weeks, we have finalized exits with our departments as well as our schools and related to staffing and their budget. Now, my office will this week and next week, or this week and the week after spring break, we will begin to gather that information together and begin the process of asking district leaders to prioritize the additional request. So at this point in time, I'll take any questions that you have.
Jelaine, do you know how the impact, because the legislature has changed their calendar from what was just outlined with I think they're taking a week off and then they're coming back.
Okay, I took that off of the legislative website, so I will go back there and re-update.
Okay, and see if that affects your all's timeline as well of when we'll get information, because are we preparing for a contingency where they may need to be called into special session to do a budget or something of that nature, or would we be prepared to move forward if there's not a budget finalized by April 15th?
Well, I believe what happens, Tyler, is what happens in the past is if there's no budget in place by July 1, then we will revert to the governor's version of the budget. We don't anticipate that happening, but yes, we are totally holding on moving forward on some initiatives until we can get more firm revenues and understand how the legislature, the final budget is going to play out.
Okay, thank you.
We still believe that April 15 is the deadline that they're going to try to meet so that we can be prepared to move forward.
Yes, I guess back to Board Member Murphy's question, what are we using April 15th if we don't have a budget? What numbers are we going to be based off of?
We will be using the governor's budget at that
April
point.
15th if we don't. Okay, thank you.
Okay, seeing that there's no more questions. Thanks, Julaine. Thanks, John. Thanks, board members. Next, under the Superintendent's Report, I want to publicly thank the Kentucky Thoroughbred Association for financially supporting Locust Trace Agri-Science Center and the equine pathways that exist in our district. Their generosity will allow for the expansion of equine programs in our middle schools. Our hope is that by plugging students into the industry at a younger age, we will support continued growth in this economic driver here for the Bluegrass region, serving as a pipeline. Board members had the opportunity to learn more about this partnership at the planning meeting in March, specifically on March 9th. This evening, we have our high school chief, James McMillan, and Locust Trace Agri-Science Center principal, Ann DeMott, to share a little bit more information and to answer any questions. So I turn it over to James and Ann.
This is James McMillan, Chief of High Schools and Secondary Programs. At the planning meeting, Ms. DeMott and Mr. Hayden represented the high school office and went over the 3-year plan with KTA. Ann has joined me tonight as well. If you guys have any questions, any further questions about that KTA grant, I will say if Amy can go to the next slide, these are the grant project donators, and definitely, and I want to thank Superintendent Koch for allowing us to speak to them and put those in front of you, let you know the horse farms that have donated. Ann, do you want to add anything to that?
I too just want to thank the Superintendent Koch and the Board of Education and all of the KTA team who has been involved, in addition to Ron Mack with Legacy Equine Academy. He was instrumental in bringing all the parties together to make this initiative possible, and we hope for your all's approval to move forward. It's a great opportunity for our students and for our economy.
Does anybody have any questions for us? All right, thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, James, and thank you, Ann. Next, we're going to have an update on our Nti application presentation for the board. As you know, the Kentucky Department of Education has already approved conditionally upon board action, and the action is on the agenda for this evening. I want to thank my team. I'm not going to name them all. We might be here all night. But Sharonda Morton and I believe Kate is online, as well as Amanda Dennis, to support in this presentation or overview for the board. Sharonda, I turn it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So glad to be with you, and I'd like to thank you very much. Thank the team that has worked hard to put this together for our schools and for our district. We thank the superintendent for his support. As you know, in 2015, we actually began this process, and we are still in the process. And a lot of the initiatives that we included in our application were part of that 2015 initiative. I have with me this evening, Amanda Dennis, Lori Bowen, James McMillan, and Heather Bell, if you have any questions, as we proceed. Thank you. Our non-traditional instructional NTI program, why we are moving forward with NTI. We responded to the COVID-19 pandemic as we are moving forward as a result of wanting to continue our academic content in the lieu of our being actually on site for school. It's a way for us to continue to deliver instruction. It also assists us in providing for student-teacher interactions and also allows the NTI days to be counted as instructional days. How do we plan on delivering instruction? We are following the guidelines. We're utilizing our digital and/or print materials. We've sent out numerous packets. We've been planning with our principals. Our principals have planned with our chiefs and with our teaching and learning side of the house to make sure that we have the correct and amount of appropriate instruction for our children. We're providing 6 hours of daily instruction, daily student support through Canvas, Google Classroom, Remind, Class Dojo, phone, or email. They can also access engaging supplemental resources. How will we support special education students? To the greatest extent possible, each student will be provided the special education and related services identified in their IEP. How we support special education students. If during NTI, a student does not receive an IEP service, the Admission and Release Committee will make an individual determination to decide whether the student requires compensatory educational services. The ARC may meet by teleconference or other means. We will be in contact with those students and with their parents. What about those with specific student plans? To support English learners, gifted and talented students, and students with a 504 plan, teachers will modify content lessons. They'll create student-specific activities and assignments, individualize virtual instruction, and contact students regularly. How will we monitor student participation in NTI? All preschool through 12th grade students participate through accessing online coursework, completing a project or paper assignment, participating in instructional activities. How we monitor staff participation. Staff responsibilities may include communicating high expectations with students and families, planning for standards-based teaching, providing strong instruction virtually, engaging students in digital communities, providing feedback for grade-appropriate assignments. This ends our portion of the presentation. If you have any questions at this time.
And before we go into questions, I'd just like to commend the Kentucky Department of Education, Dr. Foster and David Cook specifically for continuing to support and partner with not just Fayette County, but the other 171 school districts throughout Kentucky, all of our districts, as we continue to provide guidance and have ongoing conversations on how this looks and takes shape. As we know, we are looking at implementing on April 6th to take us through the week of April 13th. But as we all know, this could be extended. So we are in an uncharted territory. We're going to continue to work together collaboratively in partnership with KDE and with our other districts. And I can say as a parent, I just got my email from my principal today or this evening as I'm sitting here during this meeting about what to look forward to. So very much excited. Any questions?
I have a couple questions just for a moment. First of all, I want to commend the staff. You all have done an amazing job. I too, like the superintendent, as the parent of 4 kids in 2 schools, have had a lot of communication, and I am learning all about all those apps that you mentioned in Google Classroom and whatnot, which brings me to my first question. I know we're trying to get Chromebooks 1 per family, but I believe by Bob Moore's last inventory, we may have the ability to do more Chromebooks. So for example, even in my own family, I asked about picking up a paper packet and was told by a teacher, oh, well, you checked you have computer access. And I said, well, yes, but I have 4 kids who need to do 6 hours of instruction a day, and that is a day. So do we have the access for families that maybe need more than one Chromebook because they have multiple children, especially if they've got a wide range and those middle schoolers and high schoolers are on it? I don't know if there's someone on who can answer that. So that's question number one.
Okay, I'll go question number one. For elementary, for the most part, especially in our CSI schools, definitely we're one-to-one. So if you had 3 children in elementary school, CSI school, each child would have their own device. Middle school, we're actually, I think, 1 device every 2 students. So it really depends on the school. We may not be able to give each student an individual device based on the fact we're not one-to-one at our secondary schools. But I'm sure that the school will work with our families. There's ways, I believe, to get the materials that it's not just synchronous, but you can also do this sort of asynchronously as well, and through the packet. So we're moving through this. We're not the only district that may not be one-to-one K-12. And so this is something that we'll be learning from our partner districts on how they have implemented NTI without the use of a Chromebook or device for each and every child. We are identifying, prioritizing, obviously, our children in poverty. Oh, another email. Anyway, our children in poverty, sorry about that. But that's my initial response to question number one. I'll let Sharonda, if you want to weigh in. I know Bob is in the auditorium. If he wanted to weigh in, or Amy Johns can weigh in as well.
Amy can share with you that we are trying to meet the needs of our students in every capacity that we can. And if in the event that there are Chromebooks available at the school, parents can check with the school, and we will do our best. As the superintendent stated, we are not totally one-to-one, but we are trying to make it for our students.
Perfect. Question number two is, well, the first part is, can we get a copy of this? Because this really had some great information. The biggest question I've been asked, being a parent of children on 5 and 4s and IEPs myself, is all of the accommodations and how that works. And as well as, I know that was a lot of our hesitation, because unlike some smaller districts, it is harder for us to really figure that piece out. And so I commend the staff for doing that. And if we can have a copy of that, that would be very helpful. But one question I have are, what about the children who are not yet in assigned IEPs, but are in the evaluation process? Where does that stand?
Amanda Dennis can address that for you. There she is.
Hello. Hi, Stephanie. Thanks for the question. For students that were already in the evaluation process, obviously that has stalled at the moment. We cannot give standardized assessments online, virtually. There's absolutely no way to do that. So we can continue, and I've given advice to address some other questions. We can continue to provide parents with strategies that they can use at home for the interventions while we are implementing NTI. That really is about the best that we can do right now in terms of those students that were in the evaluation process. We are working with Katie, as well as listening to guidance from the Office of Special Ed Programs in DC regarding unavoidable issue of missing timelines, which we would normally meet those timelines within 60 school days, and that we may obviously miss some of those timelines due to this situation.
Thank you for that update. And again, I want to just commend the staff. I mean, even in my own situation, I had an OT call last week and just check in and gave me some just great tools that I've been implementing with my children, such as we take an hour walk every day, whether it's cold, rainy, snow, whatever, we've been out. And that's really helped my kids kind of situate for school. And that was a suggestion from the OT and some other things. So again, I want to commend you all. This plan looks great. Thank you for all your work on it.
And Stephanie, if I could also chime in, especially around the work I think that the district is going to. I had an opportunity just to stop by the Academies of Leadership at Mill Creek on Friday, and Dr. Ross and his team had just finished up, providing some of the lunches there for those folks that came on site. But they were actually in the process right now of getting ready to think about their deployment of the Chromebooks, so the one-to-one. A lot of students had not taken those home, but they were like going through the painstaking task of contacting families, arranging either for them to come pick them up or take them to their house. So, I mean, I think as Superintendent Calk said, you know, these are unprecedented times for us, and we are seeing our staff really do just step up in an awesome way to be able to provide all of the services that our students kind of need. And I think this is very challenging when you start talking about some of our kids with special education and who really, really need that one-on-one connection. As a district, you're trying to do all that you can to be able to provide those services, but understanding nothing really, I think, can substitute for that in-classroom experience. So, but I do commend the staff, I mean, because they are working tirelessly to make this happen for our families and our students. So.
And I echo what Board Member Love said. You know, it's not, NTI is not easy. It's not a perfect replacement for instruction. I'm in a unique position of seeing NTI being implemented in 2 different districts. I'm in the process of instructing my students through NTI right now. So it's not a perfect replacement for the classroom, but there are avenues in place to ensure that every child has that opportunity, at least as much as we can offer them. I do have just a couple clarifying questions looking at our application, and these are not substantive changes, but some things that we just might want to clarify for our staff. I'm looking at question number 4 in our application. How will information on student participation be gathered on non-traditional instruction days? And it says teachers will utilize assignment logs to document participation. Can we clarify, Ms. Morton, that the Infinite Campus could serve that purpose, just so that there's not an impression that teachers have to duplicate the recording that they're already doing? So if you record an assignment in the grade portal that we currently use called Infinite Campus, that would count as your assignment log. Is that a correct interpretation of that?
Possibly. We are having we have a meeting tomorrow with Dr. Cook and with the members of KDE to kind of help clarify this information. So it can be a possibility. We also, as a team, are looking at ways in which we would like to collect this information and how we would like to report it, but it is a possibility. But I'll know more after my meeting on tomorrow.
Okay. And then on that same note, there are just a couple other things, and again, things you may want to bring up in your meeting. On number 5, how will information on staff participation be gathered on NTI days? It says that in the 4th line down, teachers will be expected to maintain an online presence for 6 hours per NTI day for student report. We may want to clarify that to availability, like be available via phone, via email, or something like that. So it's not just that if a student can't get online or if a teacher can't get online, that we will still have an avenue for that teacher to be accessible to them. So it's not just an online presence, but just an availability during that time frame, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. We will change to that. I'm sorry, Sharonda, but we will make that change and have that as part of our discussion point with David. And Tyler, we're going to be tugging on your cape because you got more experience than any of us with this. So we appreciate you, being not only a board member, but a fellow educator who has a deeper experience and is willing to share that experience with us.
You're welcome. Thank you. And the last thing I'll note on that, and just, again, this is just technical stuff, but I just don't want us to miss anything or lead to miscommunication. Also, in answer to number 5, when we're talking about the log sheets at the very end of that paragraph, all log sheets will be completed and submitted for review to the building principal. I would add in there the building principal or his or her designee, just for clarification, because we have some schools with academies who have academy principals and so forth, just to kind of help the sharing of responsibility a bit.
Thank you. That's what makes the team work, everyone working together. I appreciate it. And we will include that. We can make amendments and we will talk about that as a group.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for your input.
So I have sort of, just from my perspective as a parent, one of my children is in reading intervention. And I've been really pleased with the outcome of that so far this year. But I noticed privately on some Facebook groups, people were offering kind of basic ways to, do the arm spelling and certain sort of suggestions for parents to continue that work at home. And although that's probably available online, I think it would be really helpful to maybe have some videos put up on our website for parents to take a look at. Just real basics, 101 type stuff for parents who do want to kind of continue with that intervention at home.
Okay. All righty. Duly noted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sharonda.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members. Next, I'm going to ask our Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Myron Thompson, to give you a brief monthly construction progress report. We'll see what that looks like.
Thank you, Manny. We will make this very brief. The slide deck that we usually provide will still be available on the website, but we're just going to cover a few high points of the ongoing projects. You will see that we are still scheduled to be in the STEAM Success Building this October. But as you can imagine, things are very fluid right now with labor, materials. So we will continue to touch base with our construction partners, and we'll give you any information that changes that as soon as we know it. So in looking at that project, I'm just going to go to the month of March. We are still demoing the site as well as the portico. There is stormline installation that is continuing as well. We have concrete to be placed at the new stairs and steel installation to continue at the miscellaneous openings. Structural steel will be completed in areas A and C, and the second floor metal decking will be completed. We're doing field welding and detailing to be completed, and the work will begin on the steel and the miscellaneous openings. Our metal stud wall framing and door installations will continue in areas A and C. The sound bats and gypsum board topping out will continue in areas A and C. And we will also have some ceiling and grid installation to begin in areas B, as well as spray foam installation. Our geothermal lines and tie-ins will continue. Our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing under slab rough-ins will be complete, as well as HVAC ductwork, piping, and units. Our plumbing and electrical rough-ins will continue, as well as our exterior sprinkler work. For the office building at 450 Park Place, again, looking to be in that facility this September. We are looking at, for the current month of March, continuing to do demo throughout the building, starting with the 4th floor. We have some architectural work taking place in the first, 2nd, and 3rd floors as well. We will begin our trenching and installation of new telecommunication conduits for the utility pole. We will begin framing new walls and doing some saw cutting in the basement. The utility site work is working as well. We've coordinated with Lexmark on that, and so we're looking forward to getting that converted over. In terms of the Bryan Station softball field house, that is essentially done. This month, we will just be going through punch list items. And for the skier vegetables, we have Professional Learning Center is roughly 95% complete, Windburn 95% complete, and the Learning Center as well, 95% complete, SCAPA at 70%, Lafayette High School at 70%, the preschool center is at 70%, and Dixie, we had some materials issues not related to this, just some shipping conflicts, but we will be starting that back later this month. We have got pre-construction meetings to be held at Southside later this month, and we've held them at Picketome and Morton. So with that, we've got 4 sites totally completed, and again, moving forward, we will continue to work with our construction partner there in terms of keeping those things on schedule as much as possible. To move just a little bit from the construction side of things, I just do want to thank all of the operational departments during these trying times. Technology, transportation, the warehouse, school nutrition, health services, everyone is pulling together to make this work for our children and community.
Myron, before we open up for board members for questions, there was a question from the virtual meeting we held with some of the residents out at Tates Creek High School or live in that area. And the one question, and we didn't know the answer when we held the meeting, was it last week, I believe?
Yes,
last week. Yeah, last Thursday, right? This past Thursday. Around the airflow and how the new school, or once it's constructed, will impact the airflow in the cul-de-sac area. I know we didn't have our engineers and consultants didn't have an answer. I don't know if we still have an answer.
No, they haven't responded back that there would be any negative impact to the neighbors in that regard. I will confirm that tomorrow, but we haven't heard anything that would be detrimental.
All right, thanks, big guy. Board members, any questions?
Hey, Manny, on the same level, talking about Takes Creek High School, the new construction, of course, we did, of course, have that Zoom meeting last week to be able to at least explain a little bit more about the project there as well. I know that there were several questions that kind of came in for some of the residents. Those that were not answered, I think we mentioned that we would come back and provide a response to some of those questions. So I've heard some feedback from several of the folks, and they're still waiting for some additional responses of some of the questions that may not necessarily were answered, I guess, or may not have been submitted during that time frame. I know that you did set up a mailbox that's dedicated for inquiries, those types of things as well. But I think there is still this need to make sure that there is still this ongoing effort to be a little bit more transparent because of the neighborhood impact in terms of having, of course, understanding what's going to happen as we move through the various phases. And so where we may have not done that in some of our past projects, I think there is a need for us to make sure that as much as possible as a district, we are communicating, providing the opportunity to provide that feedback and, address some of the questions as they come through.
Certainly, Board Member Love, we are committed to answering every one of those questions. And even the ones that we answered in person, we will go back and put all of that in a written document to be shared out.
Okay, can I just ask, do you have a least at the latest, when should that be available for residents to have at their disposal?
We will have it by close of business Thursday.
Okay.
And I want to echo, I think you all have done an amazing job. Even in the last hour, we've had several questions come in. And so I just want to reiterate as well that for those watching to continue to submit questions if they have questions, and that, we will work so that your team can get them answered. We do have a lot of stuff going on right now, so we ask everyone to be patient, but I do want to commend you all. Again, I know several questions have come forward today, and I echo Mr. Love in the sense that, this is our first substantial project in a neighborhood, possibly, at least in any of us sitting on this call's history involved with this board. And so we've learned some lessons and that from our past communications, and our goal going forward is that we have an opportunity to be collaborative, an opportunity to have open conversations, and to continue making sure, it's my commitment that we will work to make sure the members are informed of the process, that they do know what's going on, and so there aren't any surprises and such moving forward. And I really commend the staff and the architects and the construction team and everyone that joined in that call on Thursday to really try to answer those questions. We were hoping to do that in person. Unfortunately, that's something we cannot do in person at this time. I do want to commend you and just say thank you for everything that you all have done. And I want to say to those watching that we are going to continue to actively answer your questions. And if you send us specific questions, we will give you answers. And so thank you very much.
And on that note, and I just want to, what I would like to see, and I think the other board members would agree, is just kind of a clear communication plan so that we make it clear to this community and this neighborhood that we want feedback, we're open to questions, and that we're open to a dialogue and that exchange, looking at different avenues. Sometimes some modes of communication shut off some constituencies. So that's something we need to think about, be it, a targeted mailer to the affected neighborhoods, or some type of online presence, working with our engineer or design team of some imagery and some detailed plans so that people can fully understand the scope of this project. Because, I've got a lot of questions about the retaining wall. Where is this going to go? So if we can find some way to just kind of present a concrete communication to these neighborhoods with images and say, look, this is what's happening, then, and that may lower some questions that we're getting. I don't know, but we're in a situation where perception is 9/10 reality. So I don't want the perception to be that we're just plowing ahead with this, that we are listening, that we're responding to questions, and to make sure that everyone understands the full scope of the project and the benefits that'll come with it. So have we thought about different strategies of reaching out to different constituencies affected by this?
We, of course, set up the initial email address just because we are getting, as you can imagine, inundated with emails. So we've got a few people checking that box to sort of capture that information. We haven't thought much beyond that in terms of communication, but if there is a direct mailing or something in that regard, we will consider that. The design team, of course, has been in discussions and trying to get some visual, because we do want folks to have the perspective of being able to see the facility from the rear. We've seen a pretty good front-on view, but so from the neighbor standpoint, in those two particular cul-de-sacs, they haven't just gotten that far yet with the work, but they were discussing it last week after the meeting, and we will be pushing that forward. Once something like that is available, we will share that, and we'll continue the communication going forward.
Okay.
And two quick questions. The meeting from last week, is that something that we're able to post on our website or post for others to listen into? Because I don't know. I vaguely remember someone saying this was being recorded. I don't know what our options are there. So I'm just asking that. And then the next thing I really just want to echo is that I've received a handful of emails, and I know that we've all received some emails with concerns about this project, and we take those very seriously. But I also want to echo that the majority of students, staff, and even neighbors that I have spoken to are in favor of this project and are excited about this project. They recognize that it is just going to be an addition to their community and to their neighborhood. We are going to have a just probably the most energy efficient high school. We currently have the most energy efficient high school at Frederick Douglass. This is probably going to be more energy efficient than that. It's an $83 million investment in that neighborhood. It's going to be a really magnificent thing. And it's something that these students and these staff have waited very patiently for. So I want to echo that. I know we're harping a lot, and we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable with this project, but we also want to echo that, I am listening, but again, as a representative, the majority of my constituents are in favor of this project advancing.
And Board Member Spires, let me just kind of chime in, because I did have an opportunity to kind of meet with some of the residents as well. I don't think it's a definite against the project, and I think it's just making sure that everybody's kind of a little bit informed about, how we go about the different processes, and if they are, some concerns, we're able to kind of address those. And so we just make it. So I think what we tried to do last week was at least try to understand what were some of the issues that were out there that were present. Then we could therefore start to really make sure that, I think, to Board Member Murphy's perspective, as the district develops a engagement plan going forward, this is an added component that we need to make sure that we're communicating on a timely basis with the residents around that. So going forward, I think it's one of those things. But, I think all of us agree that, given the fact of, it's not an option whether or not we're going to continue to move forward with this project, because we have to do it for the sake of the schedule. And also when you think about the added safety and the health of all of our students and staff there as well. So we know that we're dealing with the building right now, that we're working through it. And but I think people are excited about it, but we just want to make sure that as we kind of move forward, we're kind of engaging and we're informing and letting people know as we move through. So, but I think that we'll be fine.
And can you give that email address out? Do you have it off the top of your head?
I believe I do. 1 second. I'll make sure I give you the right one. It is new NEW TCHS info. New NEW TCHS info at fayette.kyschools.us. So new Tates Creek High School info, but new TCHS info. There you go. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you for sharing.
All right, thank you, Myron. And with that, I'll turn the meeting back over to you, Madam Chair.
Real quick, I want to make sure everybody's good and don't need a movement break or a break of any type before we get into some voting matters. All right. So we are going to move forward at this time. I need approval of routine matters. So the first item I'm going to ask, and I'm going to ask for both of these together. If we need to separate them out, we can. But I'm asking for approval of the minutes of February 10th, 2020 board and planning meeting, and the minutes of February 24th, 2020 regular board meeting. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve both minutes from February 10th and February 24th, 2020.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris.
Second.
Second by Mr. Love, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
No.
Sorry, I looked down right then. So I have a motion by Mrs. Morris, a second by Mr. Love. Is there any further discussion about the minutes from the 10th and the 24th, or the 24th? Yes. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent items as provided.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the consent items as listed.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Love, a second by Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion on the consent items? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, we'll move on to approval of the action items. The first item this evening is the central writing for the contract. Superintendent Cox, do you have anything you want to add to this meeting?
Yes, I add to this item. We're seeking your approval of the contract with Central Kentucky Riding for Hope, which is where the Stables program is situated. Our chief of high schools, again, Mr. James McMillan, is here if you have any questions.
If we have no questions for the staff at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract for Central Kentucky Riding for Hope.
I make a motion to approve the contract for Central Kentucky Riding for Hope.
I have a motion by Mr. Daniels,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. At this time, we will, Superintendent Cox, your staff have some information regarding the revised Director of Budget and Financial Planning job description.
That is correct. So for this item, this is not a new job description. This is not adding to the budget. The position currently exists, and the person in that position is Julaine Mullins. We're looking to revise that particular job description. And so we have our Human Resource Director, Jennifer Dyer, is here to walk you through the revisions.
No further questions. Oh wait, Jennifer, start. Sorry.
Jennifer, you're on. I think you're on mute, partner. You gotta.
Come on, partner.
Sorry about that. We've been doing this for a while. Sorry. There was no major changes other than changing the language. We added the measures of success as well as the world language component as we have usually. But there's been no changes to the requirements or licensures within the job description.
All right. Do we have any questions from Ms. Dyer and the staff? Seeing no questions at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the revised Director of Budget and Financial Planning job description.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised Director of Budget and Financial Planning job description.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Daniels, a second by Mrs. Morris. All in favor, or excuse me, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And the next item that we have to approve is the NTI Instructional Program. I apologize. Can someone tell me what page in our agenda this is on so I can read the motion exactly?
77.
What?
77.
Thank you. Superintendent Clark, do you have anything to add?
Just reiterate, once again, we're seeking your approval of our plan to provide non-traditional instruction during the extended school closure. This plan has already received approval from the Kentucky Board of Education and is pending your action. And I say that noting that we will include the suggestions, the amendments, specifically made by Board Member Murphy, into the plan as we continue to have ongoing discussions with KDE.
So at this time, without any further questions for the staff, I ask for a motion to approve the application request for the non-traditional instruction program.
I move to approve the application request for the NTI program.
So I have a motion by Mr. Murphy, a second by Mr. Love. Any further questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And then at this time, I turn it over to you, Superintendent, for the monthly financial reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, board members. For our final action item this evening, I'd like to ask our Finance Director, Ronnie Jackson, and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. John White, to present the monthly financial report.
Good evening. The general fund review for the month of February 2020 is as follows. Next. Our fund balance is 144 million. Revenue is 384 million versus expenses 240 million. Next. Our fund balance overview reflects 144 million for the current 2020 fiscal year versus approximately 143 million. This is 1 million better than last year at the same time. Next. The summary of all funds combined shows revenue of 552 million, expenses of 341 million, and our net fund balance of all funds is 211 million, as indicated by the black arrow. Next. This is the summary of all funds broken out for Fund 1 through Fund 7,000. And it shows again the 211 million as indicated by the red arrow. Next. Revenue analysis for February 2020 versus 2019 is 384 million for 2020 versus 354 million last year, $30 million difference. Next. We take out the beginning balance is 313 million for this year versus 302 million last year, so $11 million difference. Next. Expenses comparing 2020 to 2019 is 240 versus 211. So we're $29 million more in expenses this year than last year. Next. The general fund reflects total assets of 153 million, liabilities 9 million. Our financial position remains sound related to assets versus liability. As we started discussing last month, related to encumbrances, they represent purchase orders for goods and or services not yet received. They become an expense when the purchase order item received and or paid. The encumbrance balance at the end of February is 7 million approximately. If you subtract out the 7,031,277, if everything became reality, our fund balance would drop to 137,168,863. We have communicated and extended the purchase order cutoff, which was April 30th to May 15th in relation to the changes we've had to make related to closing down schools. Our goal is to research, pay, and liquidate all purchase orders significantly prior to June 30th, as we do every year. Next. Trust funds has following balances: Marcy Thomas, 250,000, Dorothy Smith, 19,000, John Price, 40,000. All other trust funds have been reconciled and sent to Bluegrass Community Foundation as received. Next. Are there any questions or concerns?
Have we had any? Sorry about that. Have we had any correspondence with any of the trust funds to find out how they plan to move forward? And some of them give out awards this time of year and such. Have we had any communications to know how they're altering their?
We have not at this time. The ones that we control here at central office are primarily through Henry Clay, with the exception of the the John Price Foundation, which you, the board, have that one. Related to that, they used to send me a notice around April or May related to the scholarships, who's going to get them, the awards they're going to do. They have a big trophy they give out and so forth. So I usually get that information from them and their committee that handles that at that time.
Okay, in full disclosure, I sit on a couple of those scholarship committees and those awards, and I've not had any correspondence. It is a little premature from when we normally would anyway, but I've not heard any modifications at this time. So, are there any additional questions for the staff?
Do we have any, have we looked at how the impact of the current economic situation, what impact the current economic situation has had on some of our holdings? Or is it just, are we playing that by ear?
Well, as far as you're talking about interest?
Yes.
Investments, yes. Well, luckily, most of our investments we've already made through June 15th, so we were already locked in to cover us. So we're about going to be about 1.3 million because we got in on the interest rates when it was still pretty good. Since it dropped to zero, we haven't had any communication about what we're going to do going forward until we figure out how that's going to play out.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Madam Chair.
See no other questions from the staff, or no other questions for the staff at this time. Do we have a motion to approve the financials as presented this evening? And Ray, you're muted.
All right, sorry about that, Board Chair. I'll make a motion to accept the financials as presented for the March board meeting.
The motion by Mr. Daniels.
A second.
A second by Mrs. Morris. Are there any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to you, Superintendent Clark, to discuss the discussion and informational items for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, board members. Tonight, we also have several written informational items for the board's review, including the school activity fund report, the personnel changes for March, the budget transfer report, the interfund transfer report, and the position control document. If there are no questions about any of those items, that concludes the board agenda for this special called meeting this evening. And of course, we do not have a need to go into closed session tonight.
May I ask one question on staffing? Do we know as far as our paraeducators are concerned, are they impacted? How are they impacted by the closures, or would they be eligible for unemployment, or do we know? Do we have any guidance from Frank?
I'm going to ask Jennifer Dyer to come back on and respond to that question.
Okay.
We've provided guidance to all of the employees that their pay will not be impacted, and that includes our paraeducators. They are working with their principals on ways that they can provide support remotely. Some places they have those things already set up, and in other schools they have other items for them to do. But the fact that whether they are or are not able to work remotely will not impact their pay. It's equalized, so they will continue to get paid certified, classified salary, classified hourly.
Okay, so that extends to our paras then. Okay, that's
yes,
good enough. Thank you.
Definitely.
Great question, Mr. Murphy. And again, I just want to really echo, I think, first of all, I am proud of this entire board team. This is an unprecedented times, and we have not always all seen eye to eye, but I think that we all have really come together over the past few weeks. And we have really worked as a team to try to do what we can to support our superintendent and his ability to support our staff and our students and keep everyone safe and make sure that their needs are met in addition to their academic needs. I stressed this to the Herald Leader a few weeks ago, and I'll stress it again. I believe that education is a basic right, but until our children know where their food is coming from and know that they have shelter over their head and that their health is okay, it is really hard to learn. And so I want to echo that we will continue to work to provide the needs of our students so that they can learn. I want to take a moment and say, to all the parents, pat yourself on the back, parents, grandparents, foster parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. We are all getting a crash course in homeschooling. Really, as we've stated tonight, the NTI days will start after spring break. And so this is a time for you really to set up and to set up a routine. And similar to what I said as well, if you have questions, ask your OTs, ask your teachers. They may have ideas. For me, that game changer has been taking that walk every day. And so I really want to commend that. I also want to just point out that your students don't sit for 6 hours straight at school. So don't get stressed if they can't sit for 6 hours straight. And really, work, be patient, do what you can do. I really want to emphasize the best thing we can do for our children is stay healthy ourselves. And so you need to do as parents and as grandparents and aunts, uncles, and cousins, what you need to do to stay healthy. And I want to commend the schools. The superintendent sent out an excellent list of mental health professionals in our community that are still actively taking clients and they're working with telehealth. I have been on multiple telehealth trainings over the last few days. So there are opportunities out there for you to get some virtual health, to talk about the issues. We know this is a scary and anxious time. And we really want to know that we are there for you. At this time, we still have our clinics opening in our schools, and we'll continue to operate those clinics. And again, the superintendent sent out a list of where those clinics are and how they can access. And as long as we have nurses and the ability to continue to staff those, we're going to continue to staff those as well. So we want everybody to stay safe and stay healthy and really take care of your families and really, I encourage, and the teachers have also sent home lots of ideas of outside the box things. My 5-year-old did a 100-piece puzzle today. I've never seen her do that before in her life. But continue to realize that children don't just all learn through pencil and paper and Chromebooks, and that you can do some family games and family activities. And I think Ms. Morris had a great suggestion, and we will work as a district to kind of keep pushing out ideas for you and your family during this next few weeks. So at that time, is there any other additions from the board that you'd like to add to this meeting?
Madam Chair, I have no additions, but to add to what you were saying, I have 3 sections of seniors, and the most common question I've been asked during my virtual sessions is about the calendar and all of that. And we've gotten that from families. And what we're telling folks is we're taking this a day at a time. Like you said, don't get stressful, don't get anxious. We don't know what's ahead. We don't know if this will be prolonged, but there are all kinds of contingencies in place. So now is the time to focus on the present and how we can make the most of this current situation and support our kids and the learning that they're doing right now. And we'll sort out all of the details about the calendar once we know more and that time comes.
Yes, thank you. That's a really good point. We want to make sure that we support our families and our seniors, and we don't really have the answers until we chart through this, but we appreciate everyone's patience with us and everyone's understanding as well. At this time, is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I have a motion by Mrs. Morris, a second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0, and we are adjourned at 7:37 p.m. Thank you and have a great evening.